Welcome, foolish mortals.
Time to be turning around. If only you could.
'Cause this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
Hey, Henry, what's holding you up? Let's get on with the show. We can't hang around here all day.
Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for.
There's no turning back now.
This is the greatest show!
It's coming on the burning lights. With the runaways are running the night. Impossible comes true. It's taking over you. This is the greatest show.
Now it's time for the WDW Beyond the Gates podcast with your hosts, Michael Hurley and Gary Aruda.
This is the greatest show.
That's right. This is the WDW Beyond the Gates podcast, episode number 565, recorded from the D. Fauntleroy Studios in Kent County, Rhode Island, and sunny Southwest Florida. I'm your host, Gary, joined, as always, by my co-host and my cousin Mike down in Florida. How you doing today, Michael?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, my friend.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. We are lucky enough to be joined once again by our good friend Saratoga Joe. Joe, thank you for coming back on again in such short order to the podcast. You did a marathon preview, and now you're here to talk about your experience with the Dopey Challenge this week. But before we get into all that, Joe, why don't you let all the people know where they can find your content on the internet?
Sure. First, Gary and Mike, thank you again for having me back. I love recording with you guys. It's fun to
Oh,
with
I'm
your
friends.
friends
You're going to
and
be on all the time.
talk about topics we all love, and we have a lot of the same interests. So, and Mike,
You're basically Jay Leno, and Gary is Johnny Carson. We're just segueing the our new show coming up in the next year or two with Mike and Joe.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So first of all, Mike, I haven't had a chance to on your show congratulate you on becoming a half marathoner. It is a huge deal. And I loved enjoying seeing all the photos you were posting. You guys had a great time. So that's awesome. Marathon weekend is crazy. I know we'll get into that in a little bit, but yeah, you guys can definitely find me over at DDP Today. It stands for Disney Dad's Podcast. We do our weekly show over there. We also have a DDP Sorcerers Running Team show. We do a show called Split Stays, which I do it with, talks about resorts. We have a DDP Moms panel coming out as well. It's starting up this week. We're having a show from the ladies and moms point of view. DDP News with Kat. We have Universal Unleashed. We got a bunch of different shows on our feed over there. So come and check us out. DDP Today on Facebook as well. Come check us out.
Very good. Well, we appreciate you coming on again. And like we said, there's a lot to talk about. I don't know if you have any preamble topics today, Mike. You have anything going on in your neck of the woods you want to get into? Or you
No, not really.
Get into the nitty gritty. I mean, we got a lot to talk about with Joe. Before we do anything, the Dopey Challenge, for those of you that don't know, consists of a bunch of insane people that decide to run competitive races 4 days in a row that get significantly longer each day. So you start with a 5K warm-up on Thursday?
Yep.
Friday's a 10K. Saturday's a half marathon. And then if that's not enough, on Sunday you're running a full marathon. I would think maybe it would be do it the reverse, right? And then you kind of cool down with that 5K on Sunday. It's like a breeze. But no, you ramp up to it, and you're tired going into it, I'm sure. But a lot of people do it. Do they tell you how many people like complete all four? Like, do you know?
I don't know. I actually could look that up because I know there is a like an overall winner. Actually, I'll try to look that up in the background here. But Gary, you missed the most important part, or is actually the Expo on Wednesday.
Oh, of course.
Because when the Expo opens at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, it is the frantic push for merchandise. It's I was kind of
that's against all the people that aren't running. That's against all the Disney resellers.
You're battling not only are your competitors or your fellow runners, but also the resellers that are part of Club Run Disney that don't run.
Yeah.
So I mean, so you got to get through Wednesday as well. So it's literally a 5-day crazy event. But Yeah, it's something I've done twice. This was my second time doing the Dopey Challenge. I was talked into it by a bunch of my fellow podcasting hosts and our DDP Sorcerers running team. And I remember I completed it back in 2015 for the first time, and I said I'd never do it again. And it was about 9 years later, and I was like, here I go. But I approached it very differently this time than I did the first time, and I actually had besides a few snafus, that some of it was my fault with corral situation and proof of time, and I guess we'll get into that. I had a really good training cycle, and I had a really good experience. Like my marathon experience was excellent. I felt really good at the end of it. Like I was walking around Epcot at Via Napoli by 1 o'clock and no problems. I mean, so I took care of myself. I guess we'll get into that, but it was a really good experience. But I'm already decided I'm not doing it next year. Like it's once every 5 or 10 year thing.
Do you know what Gary said to me when I had talked about, because I wanted to do a 5 or 10K, and they filled up really fast, so I had to do the 13-1. Okay, I notify Kristen, hey, guess what? We've never run before. We've done a 5K and we run here and there just to lose a couple pounds or whatever. I said we're doing a half marathon. Oh, you're blah blah blah. Gary informs me, did you hear about that younger guy who went into cardiac arrest and died at the Disneyland half marathon?
Yeah, I'm not a big support.
And he knows I'm a hypochondriac, Joe. I've had every disease I've had multiple sclerosis. You name it, I've had it. And I used to be on WebMD back in the day, and he's got to go and tell me, oh, this guy who's 20 years younger than you died of cardiac, and who was a runner who was in better shape than you died of cardiac arrest. Thank you so much for that. I'll go to bed now and pray to God that I wake up the next morning.
Yeah, it's just like, thank you for making me feel great about my life decisions I just
exactly,
made.
I'm just looking out for you. I just wanted to make sure I was in the will for the contracts if you did kick it too.
You got the contracts and some baseball cards. Is that all right?
That's enough. That's more than enough.
There you
That'll
go.
keep me happy. Just so everyone is clear, all these things that you've had, you did not have any of them. You assumed you did.
I've never diagnosed.
I don't want people to think that you
my foot and tell Kristen I think I have MS, and she just shake her head. Yes, exactly.
Well, the funny, that's not funny, but because of what happened, I noticed this year that there were a lot more aid stations for the half and full marathons than normally in the past. RunDisney is really good about providing aid stations. I mean, they're up there with the major marathons, like
they
Boston,
were
New
up
York,
there. I've
Chicago.
never run anything, but I noticed they were there. They did.
It's like it was almost like every 3/4 of a mile there was an aid station.
Yeah, you're right.
I was getting bloated during the marathon. I'm like, I never pass up an aid station, and I was like, I can't drink anymore. So I mean, I think they've made some adjustments since that incident, unfortunately, but things happen, right? It doesn't matter. It could be during a football game, basketball game. But yeah, I mean, it's but if you put the training in, hopefully nothing goes wrong and you have a great experience. I mean, I always say if you put the training in, you will have a great experience. If you don't train for these events, they will be miserable. They really will be.
I imagine so. But you want to start with the Expo, since I know that's a big thing for a lot of people, and you got there early, and Mike even mentioned to me that by the time you even got there, stuff was already sold out. So were you able to nab what you were looking for, Joe?
The hot item this year at the Expo was the Dopey hoodie. It seems like the Dopey merchandise is always the stuff that really is the first to go off the shelf. So when you run marathons, I think maybe I've talked about this before, but the big thing is like the marathon jacket for the race that you run. I mean,
that's the one that I text you that I wanted you to buy, and you already said it was gone.
Yeah, and I had a good friend of ours, Matt Bowen. He's Club Run Disney Gold or Platinum. No, he's not Platinum, but there's a couple of different levels of Club Run Disney, and they get into the Expo first.
Yeah,
and he was texting me, and like I given him a couple. I was like, hey, I need a couple of these. And Mike, yours was included in that. I said, I'll try. And he's like, Joe, it's like locusts on like feeding day. What happened was, this is confirmed by people, is Club Run Disney Platinum was inside the merchandise floor. It wasn't even open to the public yet. And they were just snagging all of the Dopey sweatshirts. They had to, when they were restocking the floor, they had to be escorted by Disney security. So the people had the merchandise so they wouldn't get swarmed. Like it was that bad. It was crazy.
Weird.
There's no need for this stuff. Like I've been to, I said, New York City Marathon twice. I've been to Chicago Marathon, Marine Corps, Detroit. I've run some big races. Never had a problem. You go to New York City, the Expo is amazing. Plenty of merchandise. You never have to fight for anything. At Disney, for some reason, it's a giant mess, and they really need to fix it. They've done the virtual queue, and just so if your listeners don't know, the virtual queue is like anything else. Wednesday, it's mostly dopey runners and 5K runners. You have to go and get your bibs because you're running the 5K on Thursday, but you do not have to be a runner to join the virtual queue. So even after Club Run Disney is finished, you're kind of like hitting the button to hopefully get a time to get in there. And by the time you get in there, it's honestly, it looks like a picked over Salvation Army. Like it's, so I did not get my Dopey hoodie. However, I did get a Dopey finisher t-shirt, which was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
The annual pass holder shirt actually was really nice. I'm a sucker for teal. And it was like a teal color, said Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend pass holder. And it's nice to actually check your annual pass. So they only sell it to annual pass holders, which I don't understand why they don't do that for.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you're a Dopey runner, then why don't you check people's bibs?
Joe, do you think people join Club Run Disney just so that
100%.
they pay the $950 just so that they can?
100%.
It's sick, isn't it?
It's
like you and I would join it just so that we get our guaranteed spots in races, and these people are joining it just for the merch. It's insane.
And it's sold out. All of the levels are sold out. You can't.
Did you say it's $1,000 just to get the right to register for these races?
Yeah, because you're guaranteed. Because they squeeze people like Joe and me out. But like we joined the bottom tier because it's a couple $100, but you get like a runner's jacket.
Oh, you are a member. I can't even join the bottom one.
Yeah, so we actually got into the bottom one, hoping that we could get into the mid tier to the top tier. But we got into the bottom one because that runner's jacket, it's really nice quality. So that thing's worth about $125. So whatever, it's fine. It is what it is. But like when we first looked at joining, even before we start, I'm like, I'm not paying $1,000 for this. Are you nuts?
Is that a one time or is that per year?
It's
per year.
Jesus Christ! I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that on the show, but that's crazy. And then it's still, you don't get a discount on your registration or anything, right?
No. Well, I mean, you get like some type of discount, but the average Joe gets that discount because they say it's this price from this date to this date, and then after that date, it jumps up $20. Well, after that date, it's already sold out anyway.
But it never gets already sold out.
Right, it never gets
sells
out
within hours.
So how much was the half marathon, Mike? 250, you said?
Yeah, it was like 225. I don't know, Joe. You did the whole thing, so yours was like
seven something. And Disney races are expensive, like $250 for a half marathon. That's expensive. So I paid $250 to run the New York City Marathon, but that was also in 2015. But I'm sure the prices have gone up, but yeah, they are expensive.
So you pay $1,000 to pay $800 to run in these things, and then so you can buy $200 jackets from the store. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, but also the funny thing is that these people are probably annual pass holders too, or DVC. So you're also getting the annual pass holder discount when you go and buy merch at the Expo, and they're just reselling it online. Like we were literally, Gary, waiting.
They limit it to like two per person?
They limit. Well, they did.
They did
for me because we actually, last week I was talking about how I got the 13.1 car magnet,
right? Yeah,
and it said limit 2 per person, and they had hundreds of these. So I just handed one to Kristen, and she paid. I mean, they weren't really monitoring it, but it said limit 2 per person. I don't know. Maybe early on
they don't do it with the shirts, but it's unfortunate the way the merchandise is handled. I will say the quality of the merchandise has gotten better. The sublimated, I think it's how you pronounce that. The shirts are sublimated now, which is nice. They're not the polyester shirts that are pressed on. Like they're nice and light. So the quality of the merchandise,
the merch was really nice.
Yeah,
I thought
it's gotten better.
Really nice.
It took a dip there for a little bit. Like when Champion did it, the merchandise was really good. Champion went away. They started producing their own merch. It was kind of crappy, but it's gotten a lot better lately. So the way they have it set up in the cheerleading arena, it's a much more pleasant experience. It's spread out more, even though it's a little hectic. So that's a little bit stressful. The Expo. If you don't really want any Run Disney merch, that's really not a big deal. But the Expo in general, to me, as somebody who's been doing Run Disney for 11 years now, is I see so many familiar faces. that are running Dopey, that are running 5Ks or 10Ks, or maybe some older people, and they do the shorter races. And to me, I see so many friends there, and that Wednesday is so exciting. If you go any other day of the week, and Mike, I don't know how it was. I haven't had a chance to listen to your episode, so I apologize to bring it up again. But I mean, we've seen pictures of the Expo during other days. There's like nobody there. It just seems kind of depressing. Like it's like a ghost town. But
there
when
was
you're
nobody
there
when we got there Friday like mid-afternoon, 3-4 o'clock. And the parking lot was busy, but there was nobody in that Expo. I mean, nobody.
Yeah, I mean, so I enjoy a little bit of the chaoticness because I like to see friends. I run into people. I probably ran into about 12 or 15 people, like literally from different running groups over the years. You just kind of see them like, hey, what's going on? You take some photos. It's just exciting. You're out there drinking beers or hanging out. So yeah, the Expo, it's a little crazy. We got there early. Got there around 10 o'clock, 9:30, got in line for our bib right away. We had our virtual queue for our merchandise. So we're kind of waiting for that. Got our bibs, picked up our shirts, walked around the main Expo hall a little bit. I don't really need anything. Like I have all like my Garmins and gels, but if there was something in there you wanted to buy, it was available. I did have an issue with my bibs, with my proof of time. I was telling you guys off the air. And this is just a little bit of a PSA to all of your listeners that are Run Disney fans. When you guys submit proof of time for Run Disney races, please go log into your Run Disney account and double check to make sure that the proof of time was accepted. I did not double check that. And when I arrived at Walt Disney World, I was put in the very last corral for the 5K and 10K and the third to last corral for the half marathon in full. And as somebody who runs a 9-minute pace, 8:45 pace, 9-minute pace for a 5K, and I'm back with walkers that are running that never submitted any proof of time, it made for a very challenging day and very frustrating day, especially when all your friends are in A, B, and C and you're in F. So just please double check your stuff. I learned my lesson. Runner relations, I thought would be able to help. I had proof of time with me. I had all my printouts, and they just didn't do anything. So kind of a little bit of a waste of time there. But
by the way, if you want one of those Dopey Challenge hooded sweatshirts, it could be yours for the low price of $225 on eBay.
On eBay, right? Yep.
Free shipping though. Don't worry, free shipping.
They'll include the
so
shipping.
I guess that pays for your $900 a year subscription. You buy 5 of those sweatshirts and you sell
pays for itself.
$120 profit each. You're good to go.
And then the funny thing is, Gary, if you're if you're sitting at work one day or the day the Expo opens for Princess Weekend coming up, or even actually the Disneyland half marathon weekend is coming up, just go ahead and just start Googling eBay. You'll start to see all the things kind of pop up on there. So, but besides that, the Expo was fun. We were there for a good 9:30 to probably 2 o'clock, 2:30. I mean, we just kind of hung out. We had a couple beers. We enjoyed the day.
Was that in your training regimen, Joe? Is that what you do like on a typical Sunday? Is run 5 marathon or 5 miles and then have a couple suds?
I was drinking Michelob Ultra, so it's kind of like drinking water, So
that's my favorite. One of my favorite beers.
But we love to take photos there. They have all the different, step and repeats that are all around the Expo, and they have the different ones for 5K, 10K, half full, Goofy, Dopey. So get your photos in, and it's kind of you want to create those memories. That's why you're there. It's not about the race itself. It's about hanging out with the people that you've been training with and that you get to see every year. And so the Expo was a lot of fun. So yeah, got done with the Expo. We went to Hoop-de-Doo that night for dinner. Went with my friend Justin, who's the co-host over at DDP Today, and that was the one kind of bad meal we had, because after Hoop-de-Doo, we kind of locked down our eating and kind of ate, like, make sure we didn't eat anything crazy, but had a great time at Hoop-de-Doo, man. Had a little fried chicken, some strawberry shortcake. And that was had the early show at 4 o'clock, and it was a lot of fun. So that ended
there was somebody sitting behind you that you were a little concerned about for a little while.
Yeah, there was. We won't say his name, but there was a vlogger 2 tables over that was vlogging and
clenched it up a little bit. So
these guys were like, get a picture. I'm like, I'm not gonna I don't want to get the satisfaction.
Unlimited beers or no? Because you were trying to be a good boy.
Oh, we had a great server from Detroit, actually. So I kind of talked her up a little bit. She brought a giant pitcher. We got through like half of it. So
nice.
We did our best, but yeah, Expo's fun. My suggestion, my advice: if you're doing Dopey, get there early. Virtual queue is a must. If you're not looking for like the jacket or certain things, then just go whenever you want. Then what I'm saying, if you're not like not having a must-have item.
Now, Mike, you mentioned you could pre-order the stuff when you register.
Yeah, there were certain things that you could pre-order. Do you remember?
Some are like pins and things like that. I used to do that. I don't do it anymore.
I thought they had the jacket. I might be wrong. Like, I just don't understand. Why don't they have this stuff readily available?
I mean, I think they just want to get rid of it. But it's like if they actually took pre-orders, it would work. Hey, who wants a sweatshirt?
It would be so much easier. Now you don't have to carry inventory.
I mean,
you go to collect your bib and you get a box full of all the stuff you bought. It would make their lives easier.
I'm actually running the Daytona Beach Half Marathon coming up in a couple weeks. And when I signed up for the race is run by Clash Endurance. They do a lot of triathlons and stuff. And you could pre-order shirts there. And it's like you'll pick them up at the expo. Like, so they know how many they're going to print, and that's what it is. It was easy. So frustrating, but the expo is fun. It's just, you got to know what you're getting into and just kind of roll with the punches that day.
All right, let's get into the races then. So are they all super early, or is the 5K start a little later because it's a shorter race?
Now, the 5K, 10K, and half all start at 5 a.m. The full marathon now starts at 4:30 in the morning. This was the first race. They pushed this up till 4:30. Historically, the races have all started at 5:30 in the morning, but now they're pushing it earlier because they want to get the parks cleared and opened and ready to go for the day. So we're just crazy enough to wake up. The buses start at 2 a.m. I think marathon morning, they started at 1 a.m. But for the 5K, we're staying in Saratoga. That's just, where I stay. And the buses are great. They have coach buses. I'm sure Mike talked about them, from Walt Disney World. And so we took the bus over there. It was really cold. Thursday and Friday morning was pretty chilly. I ran in pants and tights on Friday. So it was cold. I mean, so you had to throw away clothes with you, blankets, but it was dry. And the 5K was a little frustrating that day because I said I started in the last corral. So I ended up running. Mike, if you remember, you went out of the starting line, you made a right, and then you kind of ran along, and there was all the buses there, and there's a bunch of cones kind of running towards the back of where mission spaces, like that backside where a test track is and stuff. I ran on the opposite side of the cones just to go around people because they were walking like eight wide. It was awful.
People are walking as soon as they start.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, because I was all the way in the back, so that was very frustrating. But I had a great race. I ran all 4 of the races, which was good. The 5K is not timed, so it's officially not
the
timed.
Only race it's not timed, right?
It's the only race. It's like a fun run, but there are characters out on the course. I didn't stop for any. You can get your picture in front of Spaceship Earth. So there's a lot of people just go out there for the 5K that do Dopey, that they mostly use it as like a picture taking.
Now do you go hard for the 5 and 10K?
Dopey, no. I mean, I ran, I think, a 9-something pace because I think I was more frustrated. And a friend of mine, Kyle, who's one of our coaches over at the DDP Source running team, he looked at my Garmin. He's like, dude, no. He's like, you need to slow it down. You got to save yourself for Sunday. I was like, Kyle, I'm sorry, man. I was just very frustrated. I just wanted to get it done. So I normally in a 5K in your neighborhood, I'll run it hard. But in a Dopey thing, Dopey is all about saving your legs, saving your energy for Sunday.
Right. So my question was, like, are you looking for time at any of these, or you're just looking to finish? So if you're
the full, I had a goal. The full, I wanted to break 5.5 hours. 5.5 hours is still my slowest marathon ever, but as part of Dopey, I would take it. When I ran Dopey 10 years ago, I think I ran it in like 5 hours even. My personal best in a marathon is 4 hours and 31 minutes. So that was in New York City. But I just wanted to finish under 5.5 hours, and I finished in 5 hours and 32 minutes for the marathon. So, but I just wanted to, the 10K and a half, I just wanted to keep a specific pace, Mike. I just wanted to make sure that pace that I trained at wasn't going to use up my legs at all. And I was going to have energy left in the tank for Sunday. Because really, when you get to the marathon, nobody cares what you did in the 5K and the 10K. It's
so I don't want to get technical and bore people, but when you're training, like I was looking, the guy that I was using for training, it's a 26-week training period. Mm-hmm. So you're obviously training for a full marathon, and you're doing a 5, 10 and half kind of in between, right?
So my training runs is not to get technical, but I was stacking runs on top of each other. So there'd be certain days where I'd run, 7-8 miles one day, and then 9 miles another day, and then I have a long run of like 16 miles. So I was stacking those runs on top of each other. So to kind of almost do like a dopey simulation, not every week, but most weeks. So I was practicing for that essentially. So when I got to dopey, I was used to running. When I ran a half marathon, my body was like, okay, well, you've done this how many times already? So
you're trying to do like a 12, 13, whatever your pace is.
I was doing, like I ran too fast in the 5K. I think my 10K time, I think I was around a 10 or 11 minute pace. Nothing, not groundbreaking, but I wasn't I wasn't hurting myself.
Sure.
The half marathon, I kept to about a 12 minute pace, 11 something. And then I trained at a 12-minute pace for the full. I just wanted to have a nice, enjoyable time. Much slower than
2 minutes better than me. I was just curious, like what your like goal is.
Yeah, I mean, like I know for my Daytona Beach half, I'm trying to run like a 10-minute pace, a 10-minute pace. I want to get a better proof of time, but I just wanted to have an enjoyable marathon experience, and I did by just kind of pacing myself throughout the week and not overdoing it. And what I mean also by not overdoing it is, and I don't mean to jump ahead, Gary, I'm kind of all over the place here, but every day was kind of the same thing. I would wake up super early at 2:00 in the morning. You get up, you shower, I had all my clothes laid out, get on the bus, go to the race, do your thing, go back to the room. I would essentially like go to the hot tub. I had compression boots. I put them on. I would stay off my feet as much as possible. I was eating early. I ate a lot in my room. I was eating pasta in my room. I had some other snacks. I was kind of just really taking care of myself. I went to the parks a little bit, maybe for an hour or two here or there just to see some friends, but I'd be back at the room.
But this is more of a business trip for you. I mean,
it's a business trip, and
right.
the best part about this is a lot of my friends. We had, I think, in our DDP group, we had 26 people do dopey, and or 26 people did the marathon. We had a bunch of people do dopey, and they all were like, "Yeah, Joe, you were right," because you cannot have a normal Disney World vacation while trying to do this. You can do it. You'll be miserable in the races. You'll be shot. So, but I was definitely taking care of myself.
I won't get into training, but like when would you go back to your room and kind of wind down and have your pasta, watch some TV, and say it's time to turn it off and get
the last time I was out was Friday. I went out to the studios, went to Baseline Tap House for like an hour or two, and I was heading back to my room by like 2:30, 3:00, and I was done. Saturday, I was in my room all day. I would go to the hot tub at Saratoga. I had my compression boots. I did a little bit of laundry because it was a jacket that I wanted to rewear just because of the way the weather was and stuff. So I did some laundry. My wife helped me with that. And I just sat in my room and watched TV all day. And then by the time I was done, 7:00, I was in bed. 6:30, you're in bed because you're waking up at 1 a.m. So it's really, like I said, it's a business trip. You paid a lot of money to do this. You spent hundreds of hours training, and you want to make sure you have a good experience. You don't want to get on the course and feel miserable. You want to enjoy it and smile. And Mike, you did it. Just like running on Main Street, just amazing.
Oh,
it still chokes me up, bro. It still chokes me up. I've done it so many times.
Freaking sucked. But when we actually got into it, it was so much easier than the training because you're just so jacked. Like you're running through Main Street,
the adrenaline,
and people are like, you're running for my mom, you're running for my dad, and you choke up because you just hear it. It's amazing. And until you experience it, it's ridiculous.
And the funny thing about experiences and doing dopey, the dopey challenge, you meet so many of the same people in the corrals. I saw so many people, like the same faces, and this happened 10 years ago when I did it for the first time. You almost have that camaraderie with each other. And I remember during the marathon,
it's shared misery. That's what.
Exactly.
It's shared. He's exactly right.
But you would look like when you're running the marathon on Sunday, you're looking around and you'll see people with the marathon bib on, but then you'll see people with the dopey bib, and you're just like, yeah, that guy only ran today. It's like we've been out here 4 days.
He's only doing 26 too.
And I want to be that guy next year where I'm just running on Sunday. But you kind of have that little bit of that bond, that camaraderie, where you look around and you see those purple bibs. You're like, yeah, we've been out here 4 days. We've been out here in the rain on Saturday, Friday in the cold, Thursday in the cold, but we're out here today. And you just you have that bond, you have that shared experience, and especially when you're done. I mean, listen, you get the 6 medals, you get 6 shirts, 2 bibs. It's great, but I'm just rocking the dopey bib, the dopey medal, and you kind of see each other again. Good job, man! You got through it, and there's something special about that. I mean, so that's the best part about it.
Did you wear your medals around, Mike? I didn't even ask you. if you and Susie wore your medals when you were going around the resort and stuff.
Yeah, you're supposed to that day, so we wore them around because everybody wore them around Coronado.
Oh, I know.
And
I
then,
just didn't know if you. I didn't. I forgot to ask you about that.
Yeah, we ended up doing it. Because then they had. I saw you taking pictures, Joe. Like at Coronado outside the main lobby, they had somebody with cameras and they had bananas and waters and Gatorades, and they were taking pictures like I did it and blah all that stuff. So yeah, we did wear it because we were walking around having breakfast and everybody was wearing their medals. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want.
It's the only time you're gonna wear it because
Right.
afterwards you're gonna hang it up somewhere. It'll go in a box. Whatever you decide to do with them. But like even like mine, it's just kind of a shame. I'm actually gonna maybe change my philosophy. But I only display my marathon medals. So actually, my Dopey medals like kind of put away right now, but I think I might bring those out and just have the Dopey ones out there with the marathon ones. But the rest of them, I don't have enough room in my holder, so I just put the big races out there. So, but yeah, I mean, you might as well wear it. You earned it that day.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
Now let me ask you a question because I told people, I said, I tell Kristen, this is stupid. Like we'd run during our training, we'd run 2 miles and just feel amazing the entire day. You just have energy. You think clearly. You feel
runner's
amazing.
high.
You get the runner's high. Why don't you just do that 3, 4, even 5 days a week? Why do you put yourself through this nonsense? Like Gary said, you got to be out of your mind to do this.
Why do you
do this? Yeah. To do the Dopey. I mean, say, if you say, I want to do a marathon, I want to challenge myself, I want to push myself. I get that. But why do people do the Dopey?
I think for a bunch of different reasons. Number one, I think it's a bucket list item for a lot of people who are Disney fans. It's been around for a little bit. And I think maybe 10, 11 years. I don't know how many years it's been around now, but it's been around for a little bit. But the Goofy's been around for a long time. I mean, that's been there. That was the
Goofy's the half and the full, right?
The half and the full. Like that was the challenge for years. And then I'm waiting for somebody at Disney to actually come up with the Grumpy, where it's the 5, 10 and half without the full. I'm waiting for that challenge to come out. But I think it's a bucket list for a lot of people.
How much more money they could make.
Oh my God, have a Grumpy. Oh my God, it'd be amazing. I think like I said, it's bucket list. I think a lot of people, it's their chance to come from a cold weather climate to come to a less cold climate. Central Florida can be either or. We had some cold weather this time. It's been really hot some other years down in Orlando. So if you're a big runner, this is great for you. You can run 4 days in a row. You're in Disney World. People love the characters. People love to dress up in costumes. I don't do costumes. I don't do tutus. That's just not what I do. It's not my thing. I don't mind people that do it. I don't know how people run in these costumes. I just don't understand it. But I think there's a lot of things that go into it. And people that do like to dress up, it gives them 4 days to do so. I mean, so everybody's got their own reasons why they do it. It's a challenge. Also, it's a challenge just to get up 4 days in a row. By the fourth day, you're tired. It's like, oh man, it's 4 days in a row. It's like, because you're doing it. It's like Groundhog Day. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's like rinse and repeat. But once you're done with it, it's a journey. It's a 5-day journey. It really is, including Wednesday. And when you're done with it, people get a little sentimental. Like, I'm gonna do it again. For me, I'm just gonna do the marathon next year. I really just want to have a solid race where my legs are fresh and they're not being beat up for 3 days in a row. But if you're somebody that loves to run in Disney World and loves to get pictures with characters, it gives you 4 opportunities to do so. And they're all different. The races are all different. I mean, a lot of them go through Epcot. We understand they all start in the same place, but they go different routes.
Yeah, they do. That's what we watched.
They mixed it up
when we got back. And we're like, oh, you look at like the 5K that just completely pretty much goes through Epcot. And a 10K, which most of that goes through Epcot. Like, I'm like, that's pretty cool. Because we didn't run through for the half marathon. We didn't go through the back of Epcot.
No. And they flip-flopped all of the maps this year. I wonder if a lot of it was because of the construction.
Could be.
And I know like the marathon course I was actually against the marathon course. I actually really liked it this year. That was the way they had it. People complained about Blizzard Beach and the parking lot there. And I remember running the marathon years ago. I've run 3 Disney marathons now where we used to run through Wide World of Sports where you're just literally running along like open fields. So I thought the marathon course was pretty good this year. I actually really enjoyed it. The only thing I don't like is they really don't give you a lot of time in the studios. I mean, guys, we come through essentially where Fantastic is. You make the left on Sunset Boulevard, where that restroom is on the corner there by Tower of Terror. It's a great. There's a photo pass photographer there, so you get that Hollywood Tower of Terror shot. But then you make another immediate left, and you're already out of the park. So that kind of stinks. Years ago, you used to run down Hollywood Boulevard. You were in the studios for a really long time, and it was awesome. That one, they really don't give you a lot of time in that park anymore, but it is what it is. So
now, let me ask you a question, since we're kind of getting to the end here.
Sure.
You guys both are able to drive there and bring whatever you need. Do you think it's difficult for people? Like, how much stuff do you have to bring if you're doing all 4 races? It sounds like a lot of stuff. You need, the throwaway clothes you were talking about. You need changes and costumes and all that stuff. Like, I don't know, if you're flying down and bringing a checked bag, I think it'd be really difficult to pack all this stuff.
If you're flying down, so it all depends on the weather. If it's cold weather like it was this year, it's very difficult. This is pretty much what I brought. I brought a large suitcase that just had my running clothes in it. The way I packed is I had cold weather running gear, warm weather running gear for 4 days. So I had 4 different. I essentially had 8. I had 8 outfits essentially.
Yeah.
I also had sweatpants for every day, blankets. I wrap them up in 2.5 gallon Ziploc bags and label them. Then I had a separate Tupperware container that had, and I'm able to do this because I was driving. It had my rolling stick in it. I had shoe dryers, portable shoe dryers. I had my compression boots. I brought food with me. So I had some pasta, jar of sauce. I had this plastic thing I make pasta in. It's called Fasta Pasta. Great. It was like $15 online. Shout out to my wife for finding it on Amazon. It makes pasta in the microwave for 10 minutes. So when you're in the studio at Saratoga, I can make pasta and just drain it right there. Awesome. I brought a case of water. Had my my blender bottle because I had my recovery drinks and my recovery shakes afterwards. So I had all of my nutrition stuff with me, plus regular clothes with me. So it was a lot of stuff to bring for it. Took me a good 2 hours to pack up when I was done. And I was throwing away clothes as the week was going on because you're running races, you're kind of throwing them away and you don't see them again. And it was a lot. So if you're flying, it's really difficult. If the weather is temperate, it's easy. It's not bad. You don't need throwaway clothes. But January in Disney, it's so unpredictable. I mean, I had everything from really warm weather clothing to Saturday it rained. We were all wearing ponchos. And I had ponchos.
Yeah, Saturday sucked.
I mean, I don't know if you had ponchos, Mike, but I had shoe boots. I had 2 ponchos on. I had extra Mylar. I was not getting wet. So I stay pretty dry. So, but Gary, to answer your question, I brought a lot of stuff and it's essentially 4 or 5 days of just like, I had outfits for everything. So
it just sounds like a lot based on what you're saying.
I brought a lot.
I'm flying down for that. I need like 10 suitcases to do.
You need to have stuff for you spend a lot of money in this trip,
a
lot of time training. You need to have something for everything, like cold weather, woolen hats, like running gloves. I mean, I had everything. Anything you want, I had it. And I was lending it to people too. Like some people didn't have certain things, like, hey, I got an extra this, I got an extra that, I'll give it to you. I mean, so I came prepared with everything. 11 years of running these races, you learn over time to just, if you're able to do, especially if you drive, you bring everything with you because the last thing you want to be doing is driving to a Walmart, like when you're supposed to be resting in the room to try to find crap at the end. You know what I'm saying? It's just not going to work out for you.
What do those boots do for you?
The booties?
Yeah, no, the things that you put on your legs, like when you were done.
The compression boots. They're like so I have like the cheaper ones. I don't have the Nomatech ones, but essentially like you stick your legs and all the way up to your hips in these boots, and they're like it's air compressed. Mine also has heat in it, and it's supposed to like just kind of push.
Like when the football players break their legs, or
yeah, kind of pushes all the blood out and stuff. And you do a couple cycles of those, and it makes your legs feel amazing. So I would do 2 cycles of those after every run. So I go back to the room, I take a shower, I put the boots on. I would do 2 cycles of the compression with the heat, and my legs would feel amazing, man. I would do it after my training runs too. I would sit upstairs and watch our lovely football team, Mike, on a Sunday. So, but yeah, they're definitely, some of them are really expensive. I mean, some of them are like $700-800 for a pair. Jeez. Mine were like 150 on Amazon, and they work just as good. They're great. So
that's going to be the next stupid thing Mike spends money on for no
reason. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, you have no desire to do a Run Disney event, but you're hearing these price tags and you're so cheap. You're like, I could buy 7 more contracts.
No
As
kidding.
opposed to doing this nonsense.
Do I want to be the platinum Run Disney member, or do I want a 20-pointer at Vero Beach? That's the
You
same
want
thing.
that 20-pointer at Vero Beach? I completely understand.
But yeah, it's supposed to be a cheap sport, but between your Garmin watch and your $200 shoes and everything else, it's
That's
like
an expensive. That's probably your most expensive Disney vacation that you do, Joe.
it probably is. Yeah, I mean it's. I mean I don't go out and eat, so that is kind of cheap.
Yeah,
but
you
at the
do
same-
save on food. Yeah,
You save on
I
food,
agree
yeah.
with that.
But yeah, I mean but the entries and look, I'm a sucker for shopping, right? I enjoy I bought a couple shirts this year. I really like the designs, and so I got a marathon shirt, I got a Dopey shirt, and I got a pass holder shirt. So it's like $80 right there with the discount. So I was like, I treated myself a little bit, but
I'm not saying I'm not saying it's a waste of money. I'm just saying it's a
oh,
expensive.
it's
Yeah,
not
we-
it's not a cheap thing now.
Yeah.
It's and the thing with Run Disney is, and Mike knows this, it's like it's one of those things you have to prepare and plan, because you miss a deadline, it just the process just goes on without you, and you're just SOL. So it's you got to be there, register on time, proof of time, be submitted on time. Be at the race on time.
Yeah.
Finish on time. They will sweep you. I heard nightmare stories, Gary, on Sunday for the marathon. They were sweeping people as early as like 2 miles in and as late as like 25 miles in.
See,
Somebody-
that's
some-
BS. I understand you got to sweep people because you can't have people keeping the parks closed for 20 hours. But at 2 miles, come on.
It's some kind of crazy thing where like people were so slow, or something happened where they swept like a 300-400, some kind of crazy number. And I can't confirm that, but there were stories going around, and some people who know some people.
I
was
watched a YouTube where this guy got swept before mile 3 on a 10K. I'm like, how you not getting to 3 miles on a 10K?
unless you
You
start
can
at
crawl.
See, the thing is with the six, and I'm just kind of put this out there. Disney tells you 16-minute mile pace from the very last person that crosses the starting line. So that's where the balloon ladies are. Now, the thing is that you're not supposed to train at a 16-minute pace. You're supposed to train at like a 13 or 14-minute pace, and they give you that little bit extra for like, so you can stop and get a picture with the character. So, I mean, like, so if you're at like 16-minute pace, that's what you do, and you're starting in the back, you can't stop for anything. So that's why your proof of time is so important. That's why you want to try to have a better qualifying time at like a local race. That's why even when you show up to the corrals, when they open, Mike, remember when you arrived at Epcot, you go through security and then they open the corrals, people like run forward because you get in the front of your
we were
wave.
in the front. We were in the last corral because we had no times, but we were right at the front. And that was
makes a
one of your
difference, though.
suggestions. And it gave us 5 minutes.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit of time. I mean, so
Yeah,
every little bit
exactly.
will help. So that's kind of where a guy's getting swept at 3 mile 3.
I get that it would ruin it for people, but why don't they push the numbers off early to let them get ahead of the pace?
Because
I know,
you're gonna have like the experienced people running over
they
people.
hold people up. They really, like you watch like
it's
the
just such a
A&B.
narrow course. It's so
It's because
okay.
it's narrow.
That's
Because
why.
if you watch like YouTubes, like remember I was telling you I was watching some YouTubes, like, and you look at the front runners and they are just cruising, and there's nobody at the Magic Kingdom. Then when we got there, the place was packed, and I don't know what you ran in. I was in G. Does that make would that be the last corral on?
No,
on
EFG. Yeah.
And what were you?
I was an E. No, I was an E. Yeah, I was an E for the half.
Okay, so EFG. I think G was the last or whatever.
I should have been
So,
in C, but I was an E. So, but yeah, it definitely makes a difference, though.
It makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference.
And you know what's crazy, Mike, is when you hit certain parts of like the TTC parking lot and you see people like coming already back, and you're like, dude, you're like 5 miles in front of me.
Well, that was so funny for the half marathon. Like we're on our way. Like we're doing like when you do the on ramp and then get on that, and you're running toward, and you see the Magic Kingdom in front of you, like the where they collect the money, where they're parking, where they pick
the toll booth.
and you turn around to the left, and they're already coming back.
They're already coming back.
And you're like, I still have to go past the golf courses, past the Grand Floridian, into the Magic Kingdom, turn around, go past the Contemporary, come back, and like these people, like I'm like, this is crazy. Like these are like the A runners. These are the people who are finishing, and an hour and 10 minutes.
They're
or
just
whatever.
cruising.
Crazy.
Yep. It's impressive to see people like just run that quickly.
Yeah.
I remember a funny story is I'm not a big marathon guru like with watching professionals, but Meb Kefletsky, I don't know if I pronounced his name right, but he's American runner, immigrated somewhere from Africa, but he's like, everybody loves Meb, right?
Him, right?
And he once at a I don't know if he won New York or Boston. He won one of the big marathons. But anyway, he once said at a Q&A that a friend of mine attended, he said that he is more impressed with us marathoners because we're out there for 4, 5, and 6 hours, and he's out there for like 2 hours and 10 minutes, 2 hours. He's like, you guys are out there for triple the amount of time that I'm out there. And goes, that's impressive. So he actually looks at us as being like, wow, you guys are running for 6 hours. I'm only running for 2, so I thought that was always kind of funny. But that's where the life of the marathon is in the back, that's where the heart is. So
one last thing, before we wrap up, you had mentioned you wanted to talk about the golf course.
Oh yeah. So listen, I love your guys' show. I love being on your show. I love listening to your guys' show. It's just so for the marathon, for the half marathon and the full marathon, they flip flop the course, and usually, Grand Floridian Way, which is between the Grand Floridian and the golf courses, the Magnolia Golf Course.
Yeah.
Usually we're running out of Magic Kingdom and running southbound. This year we're running northbound. They kind of
okay. So you go the other way.
Yeah, we usually used to run past the Contemporary first.
And then into the Magic Kingdom.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they kind of flip flopped it, but we all know that whole area has been under construction because of the Polynesian Tower. Also because of they've modified the Magnolia Golf Course, and it's just really a shame. As all three of us here are avid golfers. Gary, you're a golfer. You are, even though you don't play as much as you should. You love to play. It's just honestly a shame that the Magnolia Golf Course, which hosted a PGA Tour event for decades,
yeah,
and they just totally
into the into 2000.
Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods won it. So that goes to show you the history.
They just totally, and I knew they were doing this. I saw it. We've talked about it before, and just now seeing it, like you could, and when you're running up there, you could see where the fairways, where the trees are kind of still lined, and there's just parking lots there now for employees of like the. It just makes me so sad.
Yeah, like they're supposedly rerouting.
I don't know what they're a couple part threes there. It's like it's like
those, and the problem is those were the signature holes, those finishing holes. That par 3, the 15th, that par 3, which is a great hole.
Yep.
And then you go 16 going to the Grand Floridian.
Yeah, but in the background.
17 on the road from the Grand Floridian to the Polynesian, and then you go 18, which was a great hole. It was narrow and long.
With water on the right.
I'd argue some of the best 4 holes in golf.
And it's sad because
that 16 is a short par 4. Remember, Gary?
Yeah, that's with the creek in the front.
With the creek in the front.
You have to lay up with like a 3-wood or whatever, and then hit over. It was kind of like a marshy,
yeah.
But also, and that's all gone now. And then the sad part is for your golf fans out there is that the number one off of the Palm and 15 or 16 on the Mag. Palm, you got the great ceremonial house in the background, and this one you have
probably my favorite hole. One Palm is a
great. It's great. And then you have
one of the great ceremonial house.
And then you have the Grand Floridian with like it's the main building in the background. I got great picture of that. That's gone. Like you said, those are signature holes that everybody loved to get their photos.
Best holes at Disney.
So it's really just sad when I ran by it. I kind of like it was really dark, and I was kind of looking around. But I was just like, man, they made a mess over here. And I'm like, oh, there's the parking lot. And like I said, we're resort geeks. I'm kind of looking around, seeing where things are, and checking out the Poly Tower. And I'm just like, oh man, they totally just destroyed this Mag. Like the Magnolia just looks awful right now. So it's not done yet, but I'm just curious to see what that.
It's been
going. Those holes aren't coming back. I'll tell you that.
No, they're not, definitely not coming back. So, but yeah, I just kind of.
That's
one last thing I want to say is, I want to bring this up, Mike. I don't know what you thought about it, but I will say this: the Poly Tower actually doesn't look bad. Looks pretty good. Like when it lit up at night with like the lighting, and they painted it brown, like the dark colors kind of matched the rest of the resort. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I want to like come clean here. I wasn't like completely disgusted with it.
I'm not a huge fan. I told Gary, like I messaged him a couple weeks ago, and I'm just not.
I don't like it, but
it just I don't know.
It doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to. So I will be fair. They did some good with like the lighting and the painting of it, so it could have been worse. So just want to kind of throw that out there.
I don't necessarily hate the high rises, but it's an eyesore. Like you look at the Grand Floridian that has 5 stories for the DVC tower, and Bay Lake is, the Contemporary is a big building. Bay Lake's a big building, but when you put that poly tower next to their regular, it doesn't fit.
Yeah, the regular poly rooms are only what, 2 or 3?
3 stories. 3 stories.
Three,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
It's such a stark contrast. Anyway,
could have been worse. I'll say it could have been worse, but so.
All right, Mike. Any final questions for Joe?
No.
Joe, any final thoughts?
Well, listen, if Gary, I know you're on the fence, but I know Mike is looking at Dopey for next year, so I could definitely help you with any kind of tips, advice, Mike, whenever you're ready to tackle the Dopey challenge.
Or Gary, are you ready for the Dopey challenge?
Yeah, I'm ready to invest $2,000 into being miserable for a year.
But Mike,
because it's not just the weekend that I'd be miserable; it's the whole year training I'd be miserable.
Yeah, it is a lot. It's a legitimate thing. But
so I would love to spend $2,000 on being miserable for a calendar year.
But Mike, do you have the Run Disney bug now? Do you officially have the bug?
No,
it's
I do.
Fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
man.
I do. I had fun. I met so many great people.
Yes, you will meet so many great people that you will keep in touch with. People that will become a part of your community here as well. I know you met Mr. Rallman. Mike's a great guy from Be Our Guest podcast. As he run into people down there, you'll meet some great people at Run Disney events, and they're diehard Disney fans too. The ones that are down there doing these things, and everybody is an athlete of different levels. Not everybody's a fast runner, but nobody judges, man. That's the last thing I'll say here is when you meet people, you become friends. Nobody's like going to look down on you if you're slower. Like people are just happy that you went out there and did it. And
I said that last week. People were leaving. And you knew, they would been done for 2 hours, and they're leaving, and they're beeping at us, and they're out the windows, rolling down the windows. Keep going. Like there was no judging, nothing. No. Like it was awesome. It was awesome.
But I had a great time, and I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to come on and talk about it. I know not every listener is into the Run Disney thing, but it's a lot of fun. It's a big commitment to do it. So if you guys are thinking about signing up in March coming up for next year, it is a lot. It's a lot of waking up early in the morning, a lot of planning. But if it's something that's a bucket list item for you, it's definitely something you should look into. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot at the same time. It's definitely, I look at it as a business trip. But thank you guys for letting me come on your show to talk about it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We love having you on, buddy.
All right, you know where you can find us on socials at WDWBTG. That's YouTube, that's Facebook, that's Instagram, that's Twitter. Our Facebook group, WDW Beyond the Gates Podcast Family. Our website, WDWBTG.com. You can email the show, info at WDWBTG.com, Mike at WDWBTG.com, and Gary at WDWBTG.com. And please don't forget to check out Joe at DDP Today Podcast, Split Stays, all that whole network. Check him out over there. He's a great guy. He's been helping us out on this end. And
we'll also have the information in our show notes.
Show notes will have all the links for to get to Joe's stuff. So we do appreciate it. Thank you once again, Joe, for coming on. And that's going to do it for episode number 565 of the WDW Beyond the Gates podcast. For my co-host, Mike, and our guest, Saratoga Joe. My name is Gary. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Now it's time to say goodbye to all our company. M-I-C.
See you real soon.
K-E-Y.
Why? Because we like you.
M-O.